Hello everyone, welcome back to the Red Alert Global channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. Today we are diving into one of the most alarming and fast-developing stories in Eastern Europe, where Poland has made the decisive move to shoot down Russian drones that repeatedly violated its airspace during Moscow's ongoing assault on Ukraine. This moment marks a dramatic turning point in both military posture and diplomatic relations, and it has raised major questions about NATO's response, regional security, and the balance of deterrence in the heart of Europe. So let's break this down carefully, analyzing the exterior situation, the interior political and military dynamics, the performance of Poland's defense systems, the safety features that shield its people, the unique selling points of its defensive strategy, the price of escalation, and ultimately, what it means for the future of peace and conflict on the European continent. When we look at the exterior of this situation, we have to imagine the very edges of Poland's skies, where the invisible but highly consequential boundary between sovereign NATO territory and embattled Ukraine is being tested. Russian drones, most of them Shahed-type loitering munitions supplied by Iran, were targeting Ukrainian infrastructure, but in the process, several of them strayed or intentionally crossed into Polish territory. This wasn't the first time it happened, but unlike before, Poland did not simply lodge a complaint. This time, air defense forces responded swiftly and decisively, intercepting and shooting down these drones before they could cause damage on Polish soil. The exterior here is not just geographical, it is psychological. It is about a line being drawn, visibly and militarily, that signals to Russia that Poland will not tolerate repeated violations, and by extension, NATO itself will defend every inch of its member states. Now, let's move into the interior, and this is where the situation becomes deeply layered. Inside Poland, the government has been under pressure for months as people worry that the war in neighboring Ukraine could spill over. Public opinion is strongly in favor of defending the nation's sovereignty, but at the same time, there is fear of escalation. The Polish leadership has balanced two realities. On one hand, showing strength and resilience by reinforcing its border, calling for NATO consultations, and ramping up its own military readiness. And on the other hand, trying to avoid being the trigger for direct conflict with Russia. The interior is also political inside NATO halls. Poland has been lobbying for stronger collective defense guarantees and more advanced air defense technology. Inside Ukraine, this incident is seen as both reassuring and concerning. Reassuring because Poland is actively deterring Russian aggression and protecting NATO credibility, but concerning because it underscores how easily the war could spiral beyond Ukrainian borders. Inside Russia, the messaging has been mixed. Official statements downplay the violation as accidental or deny it altogether, while Russian state media spins the narrative to accuse NATO of overreacting. Inside the European Union, there are growing discussions about the cost of sustained support for Ukraine, and this drone incident highlights exactly why solidarity is not only moral but strategic. The interior dimension also includes the human factor, families in eastern Poland being alerted by air raid sirens, citizens following news updates anxiously, and military personnel being deployed around the clock to ensure no foreign drones slip past undetected. This is the human interior, and it is one of vigilance, uncertainty, but also determination. But when we turn to performance, Poland's defense systems demonstrated their reliability under pressure. The country has invested heavily in systems like the American-made Patriot missile batteries, modernized radar networks, in coordination with NATO's integrated air defense. These systems are designed not only to detect incoming threats, but also to differentiate between drones, missiles, and aircraft. In this latest incident, their performance was measured in seconds, as radar operators tracked, locked on, and neutralized hostile drones before they posed a risk to civilians. Performance also extends to Poland's military command structure, which has proven capable of making rapid decisions, coordinating with NATO allies, and issuing public statements that emphasize control and competence. In an era where speed is everything, Poland's ability to perform under stress adds a powerful layer of deterrence. Safety features are perhaps the most critical for the public to understand. Poland has enhanced its civilian safety measures by building robust early warning systems that alert communities when drones or missiles enter their airspace. It has invested in shelters, rapid response protocols, and joint exercises with NATO to simulate different threat scenarios. Safety features also include diplomatic channels by immediately informing NATO and the EU of airspace violations. Poland ensures it is not isolated in its response, but backed by collective defense. The government has assured its citizens that, while the threat is real, they are not defenseless, and that every measure has been taken to prevent a repeat of tragedies like the accidental missile strike in 2022. That killed civilians in a Polish village. These safety features, both physical and procedural, are designed to protect life and preserve confidence. Now let's consider the unique selling points of Poland's defense response. What sets it apart is not only its military capacity, but also its symbolic value. Poland sits on the front line of NATO, bordering both Ukraine and Belarus, and its proactive stance signals to Moscow that the alliance is not passive. Poland's unique selling point is credibility. When it says, "We will defend our skies," it proves it by action. Another unique element is Poland's historical memory. This is a country that has endured invasions, occupations, and betrayals, and today it uses that history as a motivator to never again allow foreign powers to cross its borders unchecked. Poland has also positioned itself as one of Ukraine's strongest backers, sending weapons, aid, and political support. By shooting down Russian drones, Poland underscores that supporting Ukraine is not just charity, This clarity of purpose makes Poland's stance resonate far beyond its borders. But of course, every action has a price. The price here is both literal and figurative. On the literal side, every Patriot missile costs millions of dollars. Every deployment of troops strains the budget, and maintaining high readiness requires enormous resources. Poland has increased its defense spending to over 4% of GDP, one of the highest in NATO, and that money comes from taxpayers, who also face inflation and economic challenges. The figurative price is escalation by directly shooting down Russian drones. Poland risks retaliation, whether through cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns, or even more aggressive military posturing from Russia. Diplomatically, the price is tension. While NATO allies largely support Poland, some nations fear that such actions could drag the entire alliance into open conflict. Yet Poland calculates that the price of inaction of allowing Russia to test NATO's boundaries without consequence would be far higher in the long run. In conclusion, Poland's interception of Russian drones is more than just a military maneuver. It is a message. It signals that NATO's borders are real, that European nations will defend themselves, and that Russia cannot expand its war without consequences. The exterior of the situation shows us where the line is drawn. The interior reveals the political, social, and emotional dimensions. The performance proves Poland's readiness. The safety features demonstrate protection for civilians. The unique selling points highlight why Poland stands out, and the price reminds us that security is never free. As we watch this crisis unfold, one truth is clear. The skies over Poland are not just Polish skies. They are NATO skies, and defending them defends the very principle of sovereignty in Europe.